A monument to people from Massachusetts who died in military service over the past 15 years will take place on May 27th. That's when a 50-foot memorial will be dedicated on Northern Avenue. We'd like to welcome one of the organizers of the project, the board member and treasurer for Mass Fallen Heroes, James Kelly. Thank you very much for being with us, James.
Thank you for having me, Chris.
This is a group of people in the armed forces, roughly around what we call the period of the war against terrorism, which is still going on. But talk about the people, especially in this organization.
Well, Chris, it started off with civil servants, firefighters and police officers, talking about their friends. And at that point, I was not involved. But it became more of an idea of having a tribute to the people that have fallen in Massachusetts and didn't come home from war. Greg Kelly, who's the president, he's also he's going to be deployed, I believe in May. And Dan Magoon, who's now the executive director, are the main people who started it, along with Ed Kelly from Professional Firefighters of Massachusetts. And a few other local people from Dorchester.
You know, when you talk about civil service, I think especially people in police and fire departments, anytime there's a new class sworn in, you always hear so-and-so is going to be deployed. And some of these people, they've been deployed maybe, 2-3 times?
Some even more. I'm not exactly positive them, but I believe President Kelly, Greg Kelly from Mass Fallen Heroes, I believe it's his 4th or 5th deployment, and he has children, and he's also an active Boston firefighter.
So talk about the organization, about what these people do, because the memorial is just one part of it, but I guess they formed an organization because they needed to connect with each other too.
Absolutely. It started off as friends remembering friends, and it's evolved into a monument or a memorial. But along that time, we started off with no paid staff. There was just tons of volunteers, and we have amazing volunteers. But it turned into getting a call from a local organization or a local veteran, a Gold Star parent asking for help or where to go, and there just wasn't a resource for it. For active service members returning home, how do you get a job, or where do you go, or where do you find help? So it became a place, and I consider it like a living room. They actually took the walls down in the office, and where the conference room was, and there's couches, and it's like a living room where people would come in, and the offices are around it, and they can interact with the staff, ask questions, and then, I'm an attorney. They sometimes send people to me for help, and I can refer them out to someone, or the Department of Veteran Services. It's become more like a necessary department, separate from the government, that helps out in a variety of ways, whether it be family members or active members of the military.
Yeah, no, there are a lot of people who come back, they might be physically fit and maybe even psychologically there's nothing that's terribly off, but I'm sure even in those cases there are people who've been subjected to some amount of trauma. How does this help them?
We have a particular program called Veterans Edge, started by one of our members, Mike Brown, and it's like a retreat, and it's completely confidential. I wouldn't know who goes or who doesn't, and they're taken to a remote place, and with other veterans and other people in their situation. And I'm told, I haven't been, but I'm told it's extremely helpful, because it's things you can't talk about with your wife or your mother or your father, or your friends that haven't been there. Sometimes you need that outlet, and it was an evolution that just started happening, and I believe it started off of Boston Fire and Boston Police, and how they handle some trauma.
Of course, another way to heal perhaps is to see in a public way that what you've done, the sacrifice that you and your colleagues have made is recognized. I guess talk about what the monument does around that.
The monument or memorial is to recognize the men and women that have died since 9/11 in the war against terror. First, there was no home for it. There was no place to put it. Dan Magoon and Greg Kelly went essentially door to door. And John Hines, who from Boston Global Investors.
He's one of the waterfront developers.
He is, right. And he plopped a nice piece of land for us, and there'll be a 50-foot obelisk that represents the five sides of armed services.
So what have you planned for the 27th?
It starts actually on the 20th, where we're rolling out a statewide education program, and that's for local schools and whatnot to be informed and get them involved, and teachers can bring interactive plans together, and then it rolls up to the 27th, where we actually have Governor Baker, Mayor Walsh, General Kelly is the keynote speaker, and we'll have the unveiling there, the dedication.
Well, we should mention that people want to get some more information about what you're doing as an organization, because there's more to it than just a memorial. What's the best way to check that out?
For Patriot Week, it's mfhpatriotweek.org, and in general, massfallenheroes.org.
Great. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.
James Kelly from Mass Fallen Heroes.